All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. So it looks like I need to spend more time watching the Oscars because clearly I've been missing out all these years. I didn't know all this was going down at y'all award show. Like, what in the UFC, Mortal Kombat, Tekken 3 is this? You know, Eddie Gordo wins. Like, man, it's crazy because I don't really watch the Oscars like that because it's always kind of been one of those award shows it can be kind of dry. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes they got an okay year, but a lot of times when I turn it on, it's like the older, distinguished woman giving some speech in her ballroom sequence gown. And, you know, I'd like to thank the Academy. And I'm like, all right, let me flip the channel and find something else. But something told me to DVR this specific show. And mainly it was because Regina Hall was hosting. I really like Regina Hall. And so my plan was, you know, after it DVRs, I'll just kind of fast forward through it and go to the Regina Hall bits and see what she says. Because actually, I was actually catching up on Bel Air. I'm up to episode 9. Pretty good series. There's one episode left. And so once I finished with Bel Air, you know, I turned off the Peacock app and it went back to the Oscars because that's what was recording. And so it was just my luck. I'm watching the Oscars and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give them about 3 minutes before I find something else to watch. And so Chris Rock comes out. And Chris Rock has always been an entertaining comedian. I've always liked him growing up. So I was like, yeah, let me see what he's on here talking about. So he starts telling his joke. And he does this line about Jada where he's like, oh, you know, G.I. Jane Part 2 coming to theaters soon. And I see Jada make this face. And I mean, she did a strong eye roll. One of those deep eye rolls that go all the way around and over. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And see, that almost gave me like flashbacks to, remember that movie she was in, Low Down Dirty Shame, where that woman tried to make the comparison between her and the dog. Jada gave that same eye roll. I was like, oh, this is not good. And so the next thing that takes place is you see Chris tell the joke, Jada rolls the eyes, and then I see the camera pan to Chris Rock, and he's saying like, uh-oh. And then for some reason, it's like the frame freezes, and the next shot I see is like a body coming to the stage, but then it's like the frame goes back to Chris in this position, and it's like this for like half a second, and Chris is kind of like, and I'm like, somebody's doing something with the tape. Something ain't right here. Something's not together. And then like the next frame I see like a body kind of going back to their seat, and then it goes back to this frame of Chris like this again. And then the next frame I see is Will Smith in his seat, and he's yelling something, but the audio has been cut. And I'm like, wait a minute, something over here is going down. So, you know, I went straight to Twitter because Twitter is going to always give you the scoop about everything. And of course, because the Oscars is something that airs all over the world, they have streams and broadcasts from different countries. And so somebody had posted the Australian version and the Japanese version. And so then I was able to see what actually happened. And so Chris Rock tells the joke. Will Smith goes up to the stage and does a whack, you know, to Chris. He slaps Chris Rock and then walks back to his seat and then pretty much yells, you know, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. And I'm like, oh, okay, Oscars, I'm getting spicy this year, all right. And the craziest thing is I kept looking at Lupita because Lupita's sitting right there in the mix of everything, but she's just like Lupita is me. Like when awkward stuff happened, I'm just like, okay. Because I'm sure Lupita was like, do I rub Will's back to try to calm him down, or do I leave him alone because maybe Jada might see and she might hit me too thinking I'm trying to touch her man? Like, I don't know, but that was a lot. And it's crazy because some folks were trying to say like, oh, this was staged. And I don't even think any of this was staged because who does it benefit? It certainly wouldn't benefit Will Smith because to me, I feel like based on how white America is about to respond to this, that's like a career killer for him. And I don't really think this would really help Chris Rock. And then for the Oscars, because the Oscars already want to maintain this image of prestige and all, they certainly don't want people up there scrapping at their show. Because, you know, the Oscars, they like to pretend that everyone that goes there is like super regal and, oh, you know, after the Oscars, we're going to fly to Connecticut and look at the properties that we've bought for ourselves. Like, that's the image they want. So I'm like, I don't think this is staged. But it's interesting because, you know, there's so many divided viewpoints on all of this. By the way, Chris, like, imagine getting slapped in front of Beyonce. How embarrassing. You know, she don't come out too often. So the one time you get her to come out the house, you get slapped in front of her. But, you know, there's been a bunch of different responses to this. Some folks are saying, listen, in the world of comedy as a comedian, you know that when you dish out certain jokes, you have to be ready for those who are going to be offended and what kind of reaction they may have. And if you insult a man's wife in front of him and in front of the world in a space amongst their peers, you don't really know what's about to take place. And so some people have that argument. Some folks are saying, we understand the frustration that took place, but it wasn't the place or the time for that, and that kind of overshadowed the milestones and celebratory moments for the other people at the award show because everything else after that point was overshadowed. Some people kind of reference Questlove and Summer of Soul winning that award, but not everybody was really focused in at that moment because everybody was still reacting to what had just happened 5 minutes earlier. And then some people are really on one end of the rope saying, you know what, that was an assault on national TV, and why didn't the police come and arrest Will and take him out in cuffs? And I'm like, whoa, we getting Okay, that's where we want to go with this. I will say in response to that last piece, understand that this is the world of celebrity. They get a lot of privileges that us regular everyday folks don't get. And so because the Oscars would probably not want to arrest somebody like a Will Smith and then he wins the award and they have to announce, oh, he couldn't be here today. They're all about imaging and how this all polishes. So no, they weren't going to arrest him because again, these are privileges. Now I will say, if we want to bring the conversation of race into this, I'm sure had that have been Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or Robert De Niro or somebody on the stage and he would have went and slapped one of them, oh, they would have brought out all the works, okay? I mean, the police would have been coming down the ceiling on ropes ready to arrest him. But, you know, that's Hollywood. Hollywood is its own game. And I think really what a lot of that has to do with is the fact that, you know, Will Smith has always had a certain image that has been pretty much portrayed. And this is why I think he's getting so much smoke, especially from white America and then a lot of people who buy into respectability politics. Will Smith has always had this really well put together image of the family man that's very likable and easygoing. He doesn't really talk politics. He doesn't really jump into too much. Even when he made music, his music was really clean and his music videos were always going to be really respectful of everybody involved. And he's just easygoing all around. And he even kind of talks about that in the speech that he had where he says, yeah, you're always kind of expected to kind of go with the motions and roll with the punches and pretend that everything is okay. And in that moment, everything wasn't okay. And I think the reason why he's getting so much backlash, it isn't even the slap to me. I think it's when he got back to his seat and yelled out the bit about keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. White America has not seen that side of Will Smith. You know, they love the story of, you know, coming from West Philly and becoming a celebrity. They love that part, but they don't like the origins of when people reach a breaking point. There's no guarantee to how they're going to be able to respond or how they're going to be able to maintain themselves when they've hit a certain point of just being tired. And I think in that moment, I think Will was just tired of a lot of different things. When you kind of get into the context of everything that's been taking place, I'll say this. Would I respond in the same way? Probably not. I'll also say, you know, Chris Rock was able to really maintain himself, and I think Chris Rock was able to receive the energy that Will gave him. Chris kind of knew, like, okay, maybe I stepped over some boundaries. I didn't realize it was going to be all this, but now that I know where you stand, got it. That's why Chris probably didn't swing back. Plus, it's also Will Smith, and I don't think he would have won that fight. But, you know, I think for Will, I think there's just been so much that's been happening over the last few years. You know, the family as a whole has been a punching bag, especially after the entanglement situation was, you know, put out into the media. And so everybody kind of already knows their business because they've kind of been open about it. But people have made memes and jokes and so on and so forth. People have often spent time talking about their children and how their children are very unique and different and using that almost as a weapon against their parenting styles. And so there's just been all these different things that's happened. And then when it comes to the relationship that Will Smith and Chris Rock have, or even the Smith family and Chris Rock have, Chris Rock, because he's a comedian and he's kind of a comedian that kind of goes after his peers sometimes, yeah, I think there's kind of a love-hate roller coaster relationship amongst those collectives. And so, you know, when you go back to 2016, when Will Smith was not nominated for Concussion and Jada Pinkett had released a statement about, you know, maybe we should start creating our own award shows and boycotting things like the Oscars and events that don't really give the accolades or acknowledgement to a lot of black creatives and actors and directors and producers. Maybe we should create our own things. And then that year, Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars and he pretty much addressed that, but he pretty much made a mockery of everything that she was passionate about in that moment. And so he fried up both of them. You know, he made the joke about, you know, one, y'all weren't even gonna be invited to begin with. Jada, you're on TV, you ain't done a movie in however many years, so yeah, you already weren't invited. And is it really fair that Will Smith got $20 million for Wild Wild West? And so he really kind of goes in on them in that realm, in addition to the fact that Jada's been open about the fact that she suffers from alopecia. And alopecia is a condition that can thin out your hair and also have your hair fall out. And so you don't really know how sensitive a comment about hair is to her in that moment. Especially, we already know in America, the conversations around black women and hair. Black women's hair is already policed. We literally just watched a law get passed where it's saying jobs can no longer discriminate against people for their hairstyles. And you know that's more so something that's rooted towards black Americans, because you constantly keep seeing news articles about kids not being able to walk across the stage at their commencement ceremony because they didn't want to cut off their locks, or they didn't want to take out their braids, or all these different things, or this hairstyle is not deemed professional. And so when you get to somebody like a Jada, where as a black woman in entertainment, hair is a huge part of her image, and when it comes to how she has to present herself to be deemed desirable enough to still earn roles in Hollywood is already its own ball game. And so I think with that, I think the minute Will saw how his wife kind of looked, because people were saying, well, Will was laughing at the joke too. And I think that kind of goes back to what Will was saying in the speech, where he says sometimes you have to roll with the punches and play that role. And I think the minute he saw that his wife was uncomfortable, that role ended, and he was kind of at that breaking point, like, I can't do this anymore. Because again, I think there's certain entertainers where, because they've always had this special image, it keeps them in a box where they're not able to express themselves. And the minute they step outside of their character, they're public enemy number one. And now that's what you're kind of seeing happen in regards to Will. Because again, people haven't seen, they only know the fun Will. The fun Will, he's going to be all fun. And now that you've seen that West Philly come out, people are scared. They want to act all scary now. And oh my God, I don't ever want to watch another Will movie again. And I'm not going to support. And the Oscars need to ban him and take away his awards. And I'm kind of like, folks are doing a whole lot. Because if we want to really go there about accountability and the Oscars, there are a lot of people who have some very questionable records that are still being celebrated, and some of those records include things in regards to sexual assault and misconduct and all kind of things that I don't want to say because I don't have time for YouTube to come over here and demonetize me for saying too much. But there are a bunch of people who have way bigger fish to fry in regards to what's going on in their background. So if you guys want to all of a sudden give Will all the smoke, fine by me, but you better make sure everybody else gets that same smoke, the people that have real issues, because I don't know why Woody Allen is still being celebrated. And there's that. And so, there's a bunch of different things to be said, but I just think Will had hit his breaking point in that moment, and he was just over it. And I think he was mad at himself when he did it because, shortly after, you see the clips of him and Tyler Perry and Denzel Washington, and they're trying to, bring him back down. He's actually crying. I think he was frustrated that he let himself get to that point. And I think, like I said, when people have a breaking point, sometimes it hits and you don't even realize that you realize what you're doing, but you're just in a space where, nope. Because I remember I talked about it in one of them videos. I had one of the moments with somebody in IHOP before. Now, I wasn't out there slapping nobody, but I certainly wanted to. But when it all ended, I was like, dang, did I really just do that? Dang, I didn't know I had that in me. Okay, all right. But, I think he was really frustrated about that. Now, people are going to say, because I've seen a lot of arguments where it's still, again, a lot of people are just saying it wasn't appropriate. This was supposed to be a night where people were supposed to celebrate the accolades. Cool, I hear that. I understand that. But if your argument and the reason of you being frustrated is because I keep hearing people say, oh, I just can't believe he would do this in front of all those white people. The white people were watching. That's where you lose me, because again, I don't like the idea of always making the standard of measurement in regards to morale be white people. I'm sorry, they just went and stormed the Capitol on January 6th and nothing happened. And we've seen the vile aspects that a lot of people in white America do when they don't get their way in response to a lot of things. So I don't want to hear that argument, because again, I don't measure whiteness as my standard of how I would conduct myself in public. Absolutely not. And so that's where I'm at on that. So if you want to be frustrated because you just feel that it wasn't that place and time for that moment, cool. But if it's centered in the fact that you're worried about how white America is going to see Will Smith or see black Americans, then you have some internal searching to do, because that should not be your standard of how to measure yourself, especially when they don't even hold themselves to their own standards. Please, no disrespect, but that's just how I feel. And so, like I said, we'll see how this goes. I will say this, I do think this kind of might have saved Will and Jada's marriage, because I didn't think they were going to make it. But after Will has literally put his career on the line to defend his wife, oh, that's a new kind of love right there. And by the way, gentlemen, I just want you to know a lot of your wives have raised the bar now in regards to what they expect you to do, because you better not go to a company Christmas party and let somebody disrespect your wife and you do nothing about it, because she's going to let you know about that in the car ride home. Can't believe you sat there and let them all talk about me and you didn't say nothing. I bet if I was Will Smith's wife, oh, he would have burned the whole place down, but you sitting in there laughing with him because you want to get a promotion. Oh, it's about to go down. But listen, folks should just be happy that a lot of these other celebrities have not really let out how they really feel in these moments. Because just imagine, for a lot of these celebrities that deal with so much, and I know a lot of folks keep saying, well, you know what, celebrities are supposed to be able to take it. That's what it is. But again, at the end of the day, celebrities are also still human. And when you have tons and tons of people always coming at you sideways and coming after everything you support and believe in, it can be something that is draining. Imagine if the Jacksons one day just got tired. Back in the day, I don't know, there's an award show and somebody said something about the Jacksons. Imagine if all 9 of them got up and went to the stage to go fight. Janet pull out them Rhythm Nation nunchucks and everything like that. LaToya take off that headband and they go out there to scrap, and the Gary, Indiana comes right on out. Listen, understand that people are human. I do think Will Smith and Chris Rock will work out whatever they have. I also think they both have some really good PR teams, so they'll be able to brush this right on over. But it comes with the territory. That's life. People are going to respond the way they respond when things happen. You can't always predict how people are going to react. So you just have to understand that you don't never know what's happening in somebody's head and where they're at. So tread carefully. It just comes with the territory. Anyway, everybody doesn't have to agree with me. I'm sure some of you have probably writing dissertations in the comments right now. Let me have it. It is what it is. That's just how I feel. My opinion is not the law of the land. Anyway, I'm out. Share your 2 cents. Subscribe.
They said they couldn't ride to the music cause it's way too melodic. They despise anything that makes your ears feel erotic. Take a mile past the strip, the windows down to the scene. Stepping out on the weekend as the crew's routine. Cause they act up, call back up, and all the girls are macked up. The DJ spins the record and the lines begin to stack up. Take a step into another deeper dimension while you balance out the moments that you give your attention. Said, hey, you such an actor, taking pictures faster, seeking validation from the ones you used to laugh at. Wait, here's a question that they never really ask us. If you had $1 million, would you spend it on your passions? We're working 9 to death and trying to catch up on our rest. And if you wanna be the best, they claim you have to ace a test. Then we did, so where's our check? Why you blowing up my text? I don't work on Saturdays, see my life is not your deaths. And that's the reason why I choose life.